Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Art of Creation show and our read along today. So, today we are finishing up our read along for season 8, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. We have already read all the chapters for the Four Agreements. So, we have already read about let's see, I'll read them off here. We started off with the domestication and the dream of the planet, chapter 1, and then we did the Four Agreements. So we did chapter 2, the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. The second agreement was chapter 3, don't take anything personally. The fourth chapter, the third agreement, don't make assumptions. And then the fifth agreement, the fifth chapter, the fourth agreement, always do your best, right? And that can change from day to day, one moment to the next. And then last week, we started off with half of chapter 6. So we started with the Toltec Path to Freedom, breaking old agreements. And we read the first portion of that. So the section that we read included the art of transformation, the dream of the second attention. And today we're going to finish the 6th chapter and start with the part entitled The Discipline of the Warrior, Controlling Your Own Behavior. And then we're going to finish the book with chapter 7, The New Dream, Heaven on Earth. So that is our plan for today. And as always, I'm your host and coach for the next time together, Rebecca Boswell. And if you're interested in finding out any more about me, you can go to my website, www.rebeccaboswell.com. So let's get into it. The Discipline of the Warrior, Controlling Your Own Behavior. Dum, dum, dum. Very exciting. Imagine that you awake early one morning, overflowing with enthusiasm for the day. You feel good. You're happy and have plenty of energy to face the day. Then, at breakfast, you have a big fight with your spouse and the flood of emotions come out. You get mad, and in the emotion of anger, you spend a lot of personal power. After the fight, you feel drained and you just want to go and cry. In fact, you feel so tired that you go to your room, collapse, and try to recover. You spend the day wrapped up in your emotions and you have no energy to keep going. And you just want to walk away from everything. Every day we awake with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy that we spend throughout the day. If we allow our emotions to deplete our energy, we have no energy to change our life or to give to others. Right? That's where I get myself into interesting situations of like, I'm an infinite being with infinite energy, and sometimes my body doesn't have infinite energy. And so what am I actually going to choose to use my energy with and for? And then what can I also choose and bring into my life that creates even more energy as opposed to being a drain to my energy? So the way that you see the world will depend upon the emotions you are feeling. When you are angry, everything around you is wrong. Nothing is right. You blame everything, including the weather. Whether it's raining or the sun is shining, nothing pleases you. When you're sad, everything around you is sad and makes you cry. You see the trees and you feel sad, and you see the rain and everything looks so sad. Perhaps you feel vulnerable and have a need to protect yourself because you don't know in what moment someone will attack you. You do not trust anything or anyone around you. This is because you see the world with the eyes of fear. I love it. I've been in conversations before where the topic was about perspective, right? And if you see the world as a battlefield, right, then you're always going to be at war. If you see your life as a playground, well, then you have lots of different possibilities for playing and experimenting in your environment. So depending on which glasses you put on, which lenses, which perspective you are viewing things from, how you interpret and bring the data from out in the world into your interpretive experience, it's going to determine what shows up, right? And how you show up through it all. So that's where choice creates, where we get to have the influence of creation in our reality. So imagine that the human mind, yes, there's more to it than that, and it's a great place to start. So imagine that the human mind is the same as your skin. You can touch healthy skin and it feels wonderful. Your skin is made for perception, and the sensation of touch is wonderful. Now imagine you have an injury and the skin gets cut and infected. If you touch the infected skin, it is going to hurt. So you try to cover and protect the skin. You will not enjoy being touched because it hurts. Now imagine that all humans have this skin disease. Nobody can touch each other because it's going to hurt. Everyone has wounds on their skin, so the infections are seen as normal. The pain is also considered normal. We believe we are supposed to be that way. Now, can you imagine how we would behave with each other if all the humans in the world had this skin disease? Of course, we would hardly ever hug each other because it would be too painful. So we would need to create a lot of distance between us. The human mind is exactly like this description of infected skin. Every human has an emotional body completely covered with infected wounds. Each wound is infected with emotional poison, the poison of all the emotions that makes us suffer, such as hate, anger, envy, and sadness. An action of injustice opens a wound in the mind, and we react with emotional poison because of the concepts and beliefs we have about injustice and what is fair. The mind is so wounded and full of poison by the process of domestication that everyone describes the wounded mind as normal. This is considered normal, but I can tell you it is not normal. Right? That's sometimes where we can make the distinction between it may be normal and is it natural. What's normal is not always natural. So what's an alternative? So we have a dysfunctional dream of the planet, and humans are mentally sick with a disease called fear. I mean, these are really strong words. So if you're perceiving any resistance or any emotion, even just in response to any of these words, awesome, awesome. And you may want to listen to this a few more times. And I wonder what is beyond all that. So if there are any of these words that are sticky for you, what would it take to just relax, take a breath, let your barriers down, see what shows up without judgment. And then you can see what's beyond it, which could actually be something way more amazing than you ever thought possible. So the symptoms of the disease are all the emotions that make humans suffer: anger, hate, sadness, envy, and betrayal. When the fear is too great, the reasoning behind begins to fail, and we call this mental illness psychotic behavior. Oh, I just completely made up my own sentences. Well, I changed it around. Okay, so when the fear is in it, it is called psychotic behavior. So when the fear is too great, the reasoning mind begins to fail, and we call this mental illness, period. Psychotic behavior occurs when the mind is so frightened and the wounds so painful that it seems better to break contact with the outside world. If we can see our state of mind as a disease, we find that there is a cure. We don't have to suffer any longer. First, we need the truth to open the emotional wounds, take the poison out, and heal the wounds completely, right? That's the whole thing of shining the light, right? We shine the light on the darkest places, those places that we just are unwilling to look. But then what happens? Things fester there, right? And more gets created from the avoidance of that thing. Whereas when we shine the light, right, all of the things can kind of dissipate. And most of the time we find that there isn't even that much in there that's so terrible that we need to hide. So shining the light, first step, awareness. How do we do this? We must forgive those we feel have wronged us, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because we love ourselves so much we don't want to keep paying for the injustice, right? One and done. We don't need to keep flagellating ourselves over and over and over for things that have occurred and been chosen in the past, right? How can we learn from it and what can we choose next, and how can we continue on the new trajectory that doesn't keep pulling us back to the past wrongs. Forgiveness is the only way to heal. We can choose to forgive because we feel compassion for ourselves. We can let go of the resentment and declare, that's enough. I will no longer be the big judge that goes against myself. I will no longer beat myself up and abuse myself. I will no longer be the victim. First, we need to forgive our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and God. Once you forgive God, you can finally forgive yourself. Once you forgive yourself, the self-rejection in your mind is over. Self-acceptance begins, and the self-love will grow so strong that you will finally accept yourself just the way you are. That's the beginning of the free human. Forgiveness is key. And, forgiveness is one of those kind of tricky words, right? Like, there is judgment inherently built into the word forgiveness. Okay, so there is inherently judgment built into forgiveness, right? Because you are actually forgiving a wrongness, which requires a judgment in order to make it a right or a wrong, right? So we say, well, why would I want to practice forgiveness? Because then I have to be wrong in order to forgive. Well, you don't have to create wrongness to forgive. And if you have no wrongness, then awesome. You don't require forgiveness. You just require more allowance and then creation, right? The celebration of all the magic that's next. And if through the process of domestication, through the process of your conditioning, through the process of you taking all these things in from these external inputs, people, places, things, belief systems, all of that, right? Religious structures, yada, yada. You may have a couple of things in your sphere of being, thinking, doing, relating, right? That have a tinge of wrongness. There may be things that you, even if you're still playing with how to transform that, there may be things where deep down you believe or you buy the lie that there is some sort of a wrongness there. Okay? Forgiveness is about transforming that out of wrongness and letting it go so that you can get to that place, that space where you can just play with allowance, right? You can play with letting go of whatever might still be there. Hi, nice to see you. So just, kind of having that sense, like we use these words and sometimes words can collect a lot of baggage. So forgiveness is one of those. So it's not about being wrong to forgive. It's about if there are any lies still in there where you're still agreeing to any sort of wrongness, you can use forgiveness as a word to represent that transformation of letting go. Hi, yes, beautiful, glad to see you. So we're just finishing up the 4 agreements. So we're in the end stretch of it. Thanks for joining us. So you will know you have forgiven someone when you see them and you no longer have an emotional reaction, right? And again, this is not about the other person. This is about what's going on with you. Where can you be so much space that you have no judgment, right? Where there's nothing to forgive because there is no judgment. How fun. What would it take for us all to have that space and be that space? So you will hear the name of the person and you will have no emotional reaction. When someone can touch that what used to be a wound and it no longer hurts you, then you know you have truly forgiven, right? You're truly space now. You're truly a space of judgment-free awareness. So the truth is like a scalpel. The truth can be painful because it opens all of the wounds which are covered by lies so that we can be healed. Yeah. These lies are what we call the denial system. It's a good thing we have the denial system because it allows us to cover our wounds and still function, right? It's like a big full body Band-Aid. But once we no longer have any wounds or any poison, we don't need to lie anymore. Most of all, not to ourselves. We don't need the denial system because a healthy mind, like healthy skin, can be touched without hurting. It's pleasurable for the mind to be touched when it is clean. So the problem with most people is that they lose control of their emotions. And I just want to go back. So the problem with most people is that they lose control. Oh no, that's not what I want to say. It's pleasurable for the mind to be touched when it is clean, right? And so that notion of clean, that's when I talk about space, right? That's what it is. It's that it isn't full of all of the thought, feeling, emotion, belief fragments, right, that clutter it all up. It's actually space. And that's in the ancient Hawaiian tradition, right? We talk about ho'oponopono, and that's about creating that like purification almost. Again, it's creating that space where the pure love, the pure being can actually express itself fully. So the problem with most people is that they lose control of their emotions. It is the emotions that control the behavior of the human, not the human who controls the emotions. This is where I'd say, okay, Don, interesting, and do we ever control the emotions? Or do we simply notice that they exist, but don't make them who or what we are? And we just notice them and let them go. And then also maybe even ask, okay, cool. What is this inviting me to perceive here? What could I be aware of? Is my body asking me to be aware of something? Is there something else in my external environment or sphere that's asking for me to acknowledge it? So kind of that question of influence and control. And are we actually controlling? Are we opening ourselves up to it to see then what else is possible with it? So when we lose control, we say things that we don't want to say and do things that we don't want to do. That is why it is so important to be impeccable with our word and to become a spiritual warrior. So impeccable with our word, you can go back to the previous chapters. All of the chapters are in the season 8 playlist over on the Art of Creation Show YouTube channel. So you can catch up if you haven't seen those. But being impeccable with our word, it's just knowing what are we actually creating with what we say, right? Are we creating black magic? Are we creating with white magic? And yes, I love that. So thanks, Jen. So when you are emotional, you ask, have I outgrown something? Ooh, that's a beautiful question. I love that. Yes. What are we actually trying to hold on to that doesn't really fit anymore? And are we actually being invited to take that leap into that next step of being that is greater and maybe a little uncomfortable if we're not used to playing in that space? Awesome question. Thank you. So, so being impeccable with our word, what are we creating? And then the spiritual warrior, and that really it talks about our willingness and tenacity to continue being in the practice of curiosity and awareness and just that commitment to self of desiring greater and to play with all of this and using the tools to come back to the space and to continue letting go of everything else that's either not relevant or maybe doesn't serve us or is just not coherent with what we're becoming, what we actually already are, and just haven't fully brought to the surface yet. So we must learn to control the emotions so we have enough personal power to change our fear-based agreements, escape from hell, and create our own personal heaven. And this is where I would tweak again and say, I don't know so much if it's controlling your emotions as much as it's noticing them, as I said before, and also just not being at their whim. So it's that thing of creating your own reality as opposed to allowing other forces to create your reality for you, where you're always in a reactive state. Okay. So how are we to become a warrior? There are certain characteristics of the warrior that are nearly the same around the world. The warrior has awareness. That's very important. We are aware that we are at war, and the war in our minds requires discipline. Again, this is where I'd say, if you're at war, you're always going to be battling. If you're at a playground, you'll be playing. So The discipline part, though, even though that might be kind of an interesting word for some people, again, it would be that tenacity of like, I am showing up, I am playing with this, even when it gets hard or sticky, or, even if I've outgrown something, I'm going to keep showing up and taking one step after the other and continue to play with whatever comes next. So, not the discipline of a soldier, but the discipline of a warrior. Not the discipline from the outside to tell us what to do and what not to do, like an authority, but the discipline to be ourselves, no matter what. Yes, exactly. No judgment. So the warrior has control, not control over another human, but control over one's own emotions, control over one's own self, right? That the control over whether I make a choice to hurt or a choice to contribute, right? That's the realm, right, of whether we want to stay there or not. And so when they're talking about discipline, it's that choice to keep at it. It's when we lose control that we repress the emotions, not when we are in control. The big difference between a warrior and a victim is that the victim represses and the warrior refrains. Victims repress because they are afraid to show the emotions, afraid to say what they want to say, right? Hide it in the closet, deny it. But to refrain is not the same thing as repression. To refrain is to hold the emotions and to express them in the right moment, not before and not later, right? So being willing to acknowledge and then release. So that is why warriors are impeccable. They have complete control over their own emotions and therefore over their own behavior. And I would say, hey, this is a practice. This is not like once I get there, I'm always doing this perfectly, right? This is like, right, aim for the moon, land in the stars, that kind of thing. So the next section of chapter 6 is entitled The Initiation of the Dead, Embracing the Angel of Death. So the final way to attain personal freedom is to prepare ourselves for the initiation of the dead, to take death itself as our teacher. What the angel of death can teach us is how we truly live. We become aware that we can die at any moment. We have just the present to be alive. The truth is that we don't know if we're going to die tomorrow. Who knows? We have the idea that we have many years in the future, but do we? If we go to the hospital and the doctors tell us that we have 1 week to live, what are we going to do? As we have said before, we have two choices. One is to suffer because we're going to die and to tell everyone, poor me, I'm going to die, and really create a huge drama. The other choice is to use every moment to be happy, to do what we really enjoy doing. If we only have 1 week to live, let's enjoy life. Let's be alive. We can say, I'm going to be myself. No longer am I going to run my life trying to please other people. No longer am I going to be afraid of what they think about me. What do I care what others think that I am, or if I'm going to die in 1 week? I'm going to be myself. The angel of death can teach us to live every day as if it is the last day of our life, as if there may be no tomorrow. We can begin each day by saying, I am awake. I see the sun. I'm going to give my gratitude to the sun and to everything and everyone because I am still alive. 1 more day to be myself. That is the way I see life. That is what the angel of death taught me, to be completely open, to know that there is nothing to be afraid of. And of course, I treat the people I love and love because this may be the last day that I can tell you how much I love you. I don't know if I'm going to see you again, so I don't want to fight with you. What if I had a big fight with you and I told you all those emotional poisons that I have against you and you die tomorrow? Oops. Oh my God, the judge will get me so bad and I will feel so guilty for everything I told you. I will even feel guilty for not telling you how much I love you. I love that the love that makes me happy is the love that I can share with you. Why do I need to deny that I love you? It is not important if you love me back. I may die tomorrow or you may die tomorrow. What makes me happy now is to let you know how much I love you. You can live your life this way. By doing so, you prepare yourself for the initiation of death. What is going to happen in the initiation of death is that the old dream that you have in your mind is going to die forever. Yes, you're going to have memories of the parasite, of the judge, the victim, and what you used to believe, but the parasite itself will be dead. That is what is going to die in the initiation of death, the parasite. And we talked more about that at the beginning of the chapter, so the recording from last week. It is not easy to go for the initiation of death because the judge and the victim will fight with everything they have. They don't want to die. And we feel we are the ones who are going to die, and we are afraid of this death. Right? So then we don't actually live this life because we're so afraid of the death part. We are such funny little animals. A conundrum. Okay, so when we live in the dream of the planet, it is as if we are dead. Whoever survives the initiation of the dead receives the most wonderful gift, the resurrection. To receive the resurrection is to arise from the dead, to be alive, to be ourselves again. The resurrection is to be like a child, to be wild and free, but with a difference. The difference is that we have freedom with wisdom instead of innocence. We are able to break our domestication because become free again and heal our mind. We surrender to the angel of death, knowing that the parasite will die and we will still be alive with a healthy mind and perfect reason. Right? Last week I referred to The Peaceful Warrior, the movie with Nick Nolte, and they have a really impactful scene there where the main character is dreaming and you actually see the death of his persona as he embraces who he truly is. And so the link to that movie is in last week's episode too. So it's a fun, if you're looking for a fun movie to watch, it's a good one. So then we are free to use our own mind and run our own life, so on our own terms. So that is what in the Toltec way the angel of death teaches us. The angel of death comes to us and says, you see everything that exists here is mine. It is not yours. Your house, your spouse, your children, your car, your career, your money, everything is mine. And I can take it away when I want to, but for now, you can use it, right? Can't take anything with you. So if we surrender to the angel, material things. If we surrender to the angel of death, we will be happy forever and ever. Why? Because the angel of death takes the past away in order to make it possible for life to continue. For every moment that is past, the angel of death keeps taking that part that is dead, and we keep living in the present. The parasite wants us to carry the past with us, and that makes it so heavy to be alive. When we try to live in the past, how can we enjoy the present? When we dream of the future, why must we carry the burden of the past? When are we going to live in the present? That is what the angel of death teaches us to do. So the last chapter, Chapter 7, it's a short one. The New Dream, Heaven on Earth. I want you to forget everything you have learned in your whole life. Blank slate. This is the beginning of a new understanding, a new dream, right? New possibilities. The dream you are living in your creation. It is your perception of reality that you can change at any time. Hashtag art creation. What? So you have the power to create hell, and you have the power to create heaven. Why not dream a different dream? Why not use your mind, your imagination, and your emotions to dream heaven? Just use your imagination and a tremendous thing will happen. Imagine that you have the ability to see the world with different eyes whenever you choose. Each time you open your eyes, you see the world around you in a different way. Close your eyes now and then open them and look outside. So close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. Release the old dream. And on the count of 3, we're going to open our eyes to a new reality, a new possibility, a new dream. In 3, 2, 1. What you will see is love coming out of the trees, love coming out of the sky, love coming out of the light. What do you see when you look outside? What do you see when you look within? You will perceive love from everything around you, and that is the state of bliss. You perceive love directly from everything, including yourself and other humans. Even when humans are sad or angry, behind these feelings you can see that they are also sending love. Using your imagination and your new eyes of perception, I want you to see yourself living a new life, a new dream, a life where you don't need to justify your existence and you are free to be who you really are. You don't have to prove how well you've become domesticated. You don't have to prove how well you know the rules or prove that you know where everyone else is not well enough domesticated. So imagine that you have permission to be happy and to really enjoy your life. Your life is free of conflict with yourself and with others. Imagine living your life without fear of expressing your dreams. You know what you want, what you don't want, and when you want it. You are free to change your life the way you really want to. You're not afraid to ask for what you need, to say yes or no to anything anymore. Imagine living your life without the fear of being judged by others. You no longer rule your behavior according to what others may think about you. You're no longer responsible for anyone's opinions. You have no need to control anyone, and no one controls you either, right? Because you're not giving your power away anymore. When we give our power away, when we make ourselves the product of other people's opinions, we have given away all of our power. Hi! Oh, so good to see you. Welcome. We're just wrapping up chapter 7. So imagine living your life without judging others. You can easily forgive others and let go of any judgment that you have. You don't have the need to be right, and you don't need to make anyone else wrong. You respect yourself and everyone else, and they respect you in return. Imagine living without the fear of loving and not being loved. You are no longer afraid to be rejected, and you don't have the need to be accepted. You can say, I love you, without shame and without judgment. And without justification. You can walk in the world with your heart completely open and not be afraid to be hurt. Imagine living your life without being afraid to take a risk and to explore life. You're not afraid to lose anything. You're not afraid to be alive in the world, and you are not afraid to die. Imagine that you love yourself just the way you are. You love your body just the way it is, and you love your emotions just the way they are, right? You get to love them, but they are not you. They can float freely. You know that you are perfect just as you are. The reason I ask you to imagine these things is because they are all entirely possible. You can live in the state of grace, the state of bliss, the dream of heaven. But in order to experience this dream, you must first understand what it is. Only love has the ability to put you in that state of bliss. Being in bliss is like being in love. Being in love is like being in bliss. You are floating in the clouds. You are perceiving love wherever you go. And, if the word love has too much baggage for you, right, these words are signposts, right? The word love, what we're talking about here is pointing to space. It's pointing to allowance. It's pointing to possibility between all things, ultimately oneness. So you're perceiving love wherever you go. It is entirely possible to live this way all the time. It is possible because others have done it and they are no different from you. They live in bliss because they have changed their agreements and are dreaming a different dream. Once you feel what it means to live in a state of bliss, you will love it. You will know that heaven on earth is truth, that heaven truly exists. Once you know that heaven exists, once you know it is possible to stay there, it's up to you to make the effort to do it. 2,000 years ago, Jesus told us about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of love. But hardly anyone was ready to hear this. They said, "What are you talking about? My heart is empty. I don't feel the love that you're talking about. I don't feel the peace that you have." You don't have to do this. Just imagine that his message of love is possible, and you will find that it is yours. Or the Buddha, or, there are many who have shared this along the way. So the world is very beautiful and very wonderful. Life can be very easy when love is your way of life, right? Love. Insert the word inclusion. Insert the words, judgment-free awareness. Insert the words unity, harmony, coherence, possibility. All of these point at the same larger energy. So you can be loving all the time. This is your choice. You may not have a reason to love, but you can love because to love makes you happy. Love in action only produces happiness. Love will give you inner peace. It will change your perception of everything. You can see everything with the eyes of love. You can be aware that there is love all around you. When you live this way, there is no longer a fog in your mind. The mitote has gone on a permanent vacation. This is what humans, right? And that's a word that we've explored earlier in the earlier chapters, but basically it's like the chaos and the confusion. It's more the confusion of like the human babble. Let's use that word. So this is what humans have been seeking for centuries. For thousands of years, we have been searching for happiness. Happiness is the lost paradise. Humans have worked so hard to reach this point, and this is part of the evolution of the mind. Okay, this is part of the evolution of the mind. To elevate the mind beyond a vehicle for just judgment and separation. This is part of the evolution of the mind. This is the future of humanity, right? Our mission, should we choose to accept it. So this way of life is possible, and it's in your hands. Moses called it the promised land. Buddha called it nirvana, or the pure land. Jesus calls it heaven, and the Toltecs call it a new dream. Unfortunately, your identity is mixed with the dream of the planet. All of your beliefs and agreements are there in the fog. You feel the presence of the parasite and believe it is you. This makes it difficult to let go, to release the parasite and create the space to experience love. You are attached to the judge, attached to the victim. Suffering makes you feel safe because you know it so well, especially if you have a relationship environment in which your connection is based on being that in the world, right? And being connected to the suffering and the victimhood. So just something to start to notice. If there's something like that, would it be fun to change it? What would that create in the new year, the new decade? So, but there is really no reason to suffer. The only reason you suffer is because you choose to suffer. If you look at your life, you will find many excuses to suffer, but a good reason to suffer you will not find. The same is true for happiness. The only reason you are happy is because you choose to be happy. Happiness is a choice, and so is suffering. Maybe we cannot escape from the destiny of humans, but we have a choice: to suffer our destiny or to enjoy our destiny, to suffer or to love and be happy, to live in hell or to live in heaven. My choice is to live in heaven. What's yours? What is yours? Okay, so I have a question for you guys. So those of you who are on live, that is the end of the book. And what time is it? Okay, so that is the end of the book. And there are a couple prayers at the end here. And they're prayers to be done with eyes closed. And you're invited to open your heart. And there is the prayer for freedom. And there is also the prayer for love. And yes, I'm going to share them now too. So this is something that if it resonates with you, you can always come back and listen to this again. So we're going to take a moment, and so you are watching now, otherwise you wouldn't know I was saying this. So I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes and open your heart. And feel all the love that comes from your heart. I want you to join with my words in your mind and in your heart to feel a very strong connection of love. So together we're going to do a very special prayer to experience a communion with our Creator, and whatever that is for you. Focus your attention on your lungs as if only your lungs exist. Feel the pleasure when your lungs expand to fulfill the biggest need of the human body, to breathe. So take a deep breath and feel the air as it fills your lungs. Allow your belly to be soft. When you breathe in, allow your belly to expand. Now feel how the air is nothing but love. Notice the connection between the air and the lungs and connection of love. Expand your lungs with air until your body has the need to expel that air. And then exhale. And feel the pleasure again. Because when we fulfill any need of the human body, it gives us pleasure. To breathe gives us much pleasure. Just to breathe is enough for us to always be happy, to enjoy life. Just to be alive is enough. Each breath is a reminder, right, that we are alive. Feel the pleasure to be alive, the pleasure of the feeling of love. And this is our prayer for freedom. Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you come to us and share with us a strong communion of love. We know that your real name is love, that to have a communion with you means to share the same vibration, the same frequency that you are, because you are the only thing that exists in the universe. Today, help us to be like you are, to love life, to be love. Help us to love the way you love, with no conditions, no expectations, no obligations, and without judgment. Help us to love and accept ourselves without any judgment, because when we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty and we need to be punished. But help us to love everything you create unconditionally, especially other human beings, especially those who live around us, all our relatives and people whom we try so hard to love. Because when we reject them, we reject ourselves. And when we reject ourselves, we reject you. Help us to love others just the way they are, with no conditions. Help us to accept them the way they are without judgment, because we judge them, we feel them, find them guilty, we blame them, and we have the need to punish them. Today, clean our hearts of any emotional poison that we have. Free our minds from any judgment, so that we can live in complete peace and complete love. Today is a very special day. Today we open our hearts to love again, so that we can tell each other, I love you, without any fear, and really mean it. Today we offer ourselves to you. Come to us. Use our voices, use our eyes, use our hands, and use our hearts to share ourselves in a communion of love with everyone. Today, Creator, help us to be just like you are. Thank you for everything that we receive this day, especially for the freedom to be who we really are. Amen. And a prayer for love. Keeping your eyes closed, breathing in, breathing out. We are going to share a beautiful dream together, a dream that you will love to have all of the time. In this dream, you are in the middle of a beautiful, warm, sunny day. You hear the birds, the wind, and a little river. You walk toward the river. At the edge of the river is an old man in meditation, and you see that out of his head comes a beautiful light of different colors. You try not to bother him, but he notices your presence and opens his eyes. He has the kind of eyes that are full of love and a big smile. You ask him how he is able to radiate all that beautiful light. You ask him if he can teach you to do what he is doing. He replies that many, many years ago he asked the same question of his teacher. The old man begins to tell you his story. My teacher opened his chest and took out his heart, and he took a beautiful flame from his heart. Then he opened my chest, opened my heart, and he put that little flame inside of it. He put my heart back in my chest, and as soon as my heart was inside me, I felt intense love, because the flame he put in my heart was in his own heart. That flame grew in my heart and became a big, big fire, a fire that doesn't burn but purifies everything that it touches. And that fire touches each one of the cells of my body, and the cells of my body love me back. I became one with my body, but my love grew even more. That fire touched every emotion of my mind, and all the emotions transformed into a strong and intense love. And I loved myself completely and unconditionally. But the fire kept burning, and I had the need to share my love I decided to put a little piece of my love in every tree, and the trees loved me back, and I became one with the trees. But my love did not stop, it grew more. I put a piece of love in every flower, in the grass, in the earth, and they loved me back, and we became one. And my love grew more and more to love every animal in the world. They responded to my love, and they loved me back, and we became one. But my love kept growing and growing. I put a piece of my love in every crystal, in every stone in the ground, and in the dirt, and in the metals, and they loved me back, and I became one with the earth. And then I decided to put my love in the water, in the oceans, in the rivers, in the rain, in the snow, and they loved me back, and we became one. And still, my love grew more and more. I decided to give my love to the air, to the wind. I felt a strong communion with the earth, with the wind, with the oceans, with nature, and my love, it grew and grew. I turned my head to the sky, to the sun, to the stars, and put a little piece of my love in every star, in the moon, in the sun, and they loved me back. And I became one with the moon and the sun and the stars, and my love kept growing and growing, and I put a little piece of my love in every human, and I became one with the whole of humanity. Wherever I go, whomever I meet, I see myself in their eyes, because I am a part of everything, because I love. And then the old man opens his own chest and takes out his heart with that beautiful flame inside, and he puts that flame in your heart. And now that love is growing inside of you. Now you are one with the wind, with the water, with the stars, with all of nature, with all of the animals, and with all of the humans. You feel the heat and the light emanating from the flame in your heart. Out of your head shines a beautiful light of different colors. You are radiant with the glow of love, and you pray. Thank you. Thank you, Creator of the universe, for the gift of life you have given me. Thank you for giving me everything that I have ever truly needed. Thank you for the opportunity to experience this beautiful body and this wonderful mind. Thank you for living inside me and with all your love, with your pure and boundless spirit, with your warm and radiant light. Thank you for using my words, for using my eyes, for using my heart to share your love wherever I go. I love you just the way you are, and because I am your creation, I love myself just the way I am. Help me to keep the love and the peace in my heart, and to make that love a new way of life, that I may live in love the rest of my life. Amen. And that completes our reading for today. That has been the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and then, of course, the 2 prayers at the end. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and that fire now is ablaze within your heart, and that you acknowledge it fully. Not that it wasn't there before. It's just now we can dial it up and amplify it out into the world. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for being a part of this journey in this book. Season 9 will be in 2020. A new year, a new decade. I wonder what all is on the horizon and what beautiful creations we all will get to play with in that new year and new start to the new decade. If you are interested in playing with your world power, looking at the 9 different environments of you, different ways we show up, and how we can create an environment, a total holistic environment, inside and out, to help support us and what it is that we are creating and becoming. I would love to talk to you about that program and invite you to go on that journey with me. Also, the Inner Freedom program. If there are things that you keep bumping up against things that you're looking to create, to change, and you are finding that those emotional pieces, right, are actually having a lot of control and power in your life. Denying them, I can tell you from personal experience, it doesn't work. You pack them away, and eventually, if you want to grow, they are going to come out in some way. So I can help shine the light and go with you to those darker spaces and actually find where the light is. Oftentimes, what we think we're hiding is actually a wellspring of beauty and, yeah, your true power. So I would love to go on that journey as well. That is also a longer program, so we can talk about that. And then, of course, we have one-offs, and then we have general programs that are specifically tailored to what it is that's going on with you. So if you want to get together and even just talk about what you are leaving behind in this decade and what you have an inkling about for the next decade, I'd love to have that conversation with you and see if there's more that we can do together so you have support on that journey. So thank you guys for being here again, and I will see you again in the new year and in the new decade, unless I hear from you before that. You can always send me a personal message on Facebook, or you can text me 518-391-0484. Send smoke signals, do what you will, but whatever you choose, I look forward to chatting with you. So thank you, everyone. Make sure to click that notification bell so that when we do start going live again, you'll know to come join us and come contribute to the energy of the reading. All right. Also, if you have a suggestion for a book that you would like to see in a future read-along, please let me know. And if you have a suggestion for a future guest on the show, I promise at some point we'll go back to interviews. I've just been having so much fun with these read-alongs. But let me know who you would love to see here with me, and also any topics that are of interest to you that you would like to explore. So have a wonderful holiday season, a happy new year, and until next time, I wonder what we'll discover next. Bye-bye, everybody.